do anything.
What was supposed to be a routine traffic stop turned into one of the most brutal police beatings ever captured on video. Tyre Nichols kicked, punched, and beaten with a baton by 5 Memphis police officers until he was writhing on the ground. In the months since his death, new, disturbing details have emerged. One of the officers now accused of sending a photo of a bloodied Nichols around to friends, while 4 of the officers had prior violations at work, including failure to report the use of physical force. The staggering level of violence and the failure of the other officers and first responders to intervene has reignited questions about police culture. At Nichols' funeral earlier this month, civil rights leaders and his family called for an end to police violence.
I see the world showing him love and fighting for his justice, but all I want is my baby brother back. And even in his demise, he was still polite. He asked him to please stop.
Days after Nichols was laid to rest, his parents attended U.S. President Joe Biden's State of the Union address in Washington, D.C. Instead of applauding the family, some say lawmakers should be apologizing for failing to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which would overhaul police practices nationwide.
I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But what happened to Tyre in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better.
A new Yahoo News YouGov poll shows that the majority of Americans support the major reforms laid out in the legislation, like banning chokeholds and making it easier to prosecute officers accused of wrongdoing. The 5 officers involved in Nichols' beating have all been fired and charged with second-degree murder and other offenses. They're facing decades behind bars and are expected to be arraigned next week. 2 other officers and 3 first responders have also been fired or suspended in connection with the case. Officials say more could be disciplined as the investigation continues. Nichols' family and civil rights activists hope the swift and severe consequences will now set the standard for how future cases of police violence are handled. Tony Waterman, CGTN, Austin, Texas.